The star of today's show is an absolute English classic, but of course it comes with a few of our own twists. We're making it exactly the way we like to eat it at home. It's a slightly less crowded version of this traditional dish, but trust me, it still packs all of the important flavors. Whether it's a chilly Friday evening or you're just craving something that feels like a warm hug in a baking dish, this is the one. Welcome to My Grandma Can Cook Shepherd's Pie. To start things off, Grandma peels and cuts the potatoes, and the regulars of this channel might be noticing something incredibly strange right off the bat. Look closely. Yes, she's actually cutting things on a chopping board. Shocking, I know. Usually she prefers the dangerous game of slicing vegetables mid-air, giving me a mouth heart attack every single time. And yes, before you ask, I immediately checked it for a fever. She was completely fine. I guess miracles do happen. Once the taters are roughly cubed, she heavily salts a pot of boiling water. Make sure not to skip this step. This is your only chance to season them from the inside out. She dumps them inside, lowers the heat to a simmer, and essentially forgets about them for the next half an hour. Now it's time for the rest of the veg. She peels a carrot and an onion, and then I guess I need to take over? Because apparently, finely dicing vegetables is completely foreign territory for someone who's been cooking every single day for the past 70 years? Us youngsters with our modern techniques and our fancy knife skills and our desire to not eat massive crunchy chunks of raw onion in a soft pie. We're so weird and quirky, right? Fellas? Guys? Anyone? Anyway, I oblige. And honestly, as soon as I start, I kinda see why Grandma favors cutting things mid-air. This plastic board is a nightmare, it just folds and bends the way a solid wooden block never would. It's actively fighting back. Every time the knife hits, the whole board bounces. It's like trying to dice vegetables on a trampoline. Weird, but I pushed through. Carrots finely diced, onto the onion. One horizontal cut through the middle, a bunch of vertical cuts following the grain, and we dice. You know, the funny thing is, even this onion and carrot are a relatively recent addition to our family shepherd's pie. My mum started cooking this for us when I was little, and back then it was literally just mince, boiled potatoes, and maybe some salt and pepper if she was feeling adventurous. I actually only learned that it had an official name, shepherd's pie, when I was already a grown adult. Before that, we'd simply call it mince with mashed potatoes, because, well, that's exactly what it was. And technically, if you want to get really pedantic, if you use beef mince instead of lamb, it's actually called a cottage pie, but we've called it shepherd's pie for too long to stop now. Next step is to heat up some oil in a hot pan, or in our case, a multi-cooker. Same thing, kind of, as long as it does the job. The carrot and onion go in, and she immediately hits them with a pinch of salt. This is crucial. The salt draws the moisture out and helps the veg start releasing their natural sugars rather than just burning. We let them sweat and cook down for about 10 minutes, stirring occasionally until they've significantly softened up and the kitchen starts smelling amazing. Then we add a little splash of water. This might seem counterintuitive when you want to fry meat, but the water actually creates steam that helps us with crumbing the mince. Speaking of, the mince goes in, and Grandma grabs a spatula to break it down into tiny, even crumbs. You don't want massive meatballs hiding in your pie, you want a uniform, rich texture. Time for the spices, and this is where our Balkan roots really show up to the party. We add black pepper, a good hit of oregano, sweet paprika, and a dash of cumin. Definitely not your standard British pub ingredients, but trust me, it elevates the meat to a whole new level. Then we stir. Now, patience is key. You want to cook this whole mixture until the mince has completely cooked through and most if not all of the water has evaporated. You don't have to guess when this happens, the food will actually tell you. You'll be able to tell by the noise it makes. Listen closely. Here's the sound when there was still water trapped in the pot. And here it is a few minutes later, without any water, when the meat is finally frying in its own fat. Music to my ears. When it sounds like that, it's done. We cut the heat and let it rest while we finish up the mash. Our potatoes have been bubbling away for about 30 minutes. When they're fork tender, we drain them completely. Pro tip from Grandma, let them sit for a minute so some of the steam escapes. Water is the enemy of a rich, creamy mash. You want them dry before you start adding your fats. In a bowl they go, followed immediately by a healthy chunk of butter and an egg. Now, if you've never put an egg in your mashed potatoes, you're missing out. The residual heat cooks the egg, and it acts like a binder, giving the mash this incredibly silky, rich, almost custard-like structure that holds up beautifully in the oven. You just have to make sure to mix it in fast so you don't end up with chunks of scrambled eggs in your potatoes. Grandma starts mashing, and when she feels like the mixture could be just a bit softer and more pliable, she adds a splash of milk. She mashes until it's perfectly smooth, sets the bowl aside, and finally, it's time to assemble. The mince goes directly into our oven tray. She uses a spatula to smooth it out into an even layer, making sure it reaches right into the corners. Then, slowly but surely, all that glorious mash goes over the top. She meticulously spreads it in an equal manner, going all around the tray. You want to make sure you create a complete seal against the edges of the dish, otherwise the meat sauce will bubble up and over the top, ruining the look of your dish. Now, you might be wondering why we're taking a fork to perfectly smooth mashed potatoes. Isn't smooth better? Well, not exactly. It's actually all about maximizing texture. When you rake the fork across the top like this, you're creating these distinct ridges. Peaks and valleys, if you will. Those little peaks are going to catch the direct heat from the oven and get beautifully crispy, golden, and caramelized. But down in the valleys, the potato stays incredibly soft and creamy. It's that contrast between the crunchy top and the pillowy inside that makes every single bite just that little bit more interesting. Once she's done raking it, the whole tray goes into a preheated oven at 200 degrees for about 30 minutes. Everything inside is already cooked, so you're just hunting for that perfect crust. Now, all you need to do is let it go for a few minutes so you don't burn off all of your taste buds. Serve and enjoy. This is a pretty easy recipe for me to rate, mostly because I've just been eating it for so many years. Although it didn't always have so much flavor going for it back in the day. The cumin and paprika add this subtle warmth to the meat. The vegetables give it a great base sweetness, and that crispy buttery potato topping is just unbeatable. And yes, I know some English purists watching this might get a little angry about our adjustments, but hey, cooking is all about personal preference, adapting to what you have and catering to your own tastes. So feel free to take this recipe and make it exactly as we do, or change a thing or two, or even change absolutely everything if you really want to. The important thing is that you enjoy the things you cook. So, on a scale from
"This is disgusting," "This is awful in every way,"
to
"This right here is my favorite thing ever,"
shepherd's pie gets a hard-earned
I'm very happy.
And on that note, I'm gonna thank you all for watching, kindly ask you to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you in a bit.